14th of October, 1942.
A Finnish listening station on Kalboda records explosions. They are presumed to be depth charges. The submarine hunt has begun. Lieutenant Erkki Palosua is immediately alerted. His Tupolov SB-10 naval bomber is soon in the air. Palosua and his mates face a difficult task. Their plane is fitted with only two 200-kilogram depth charges. The crew has had few opportunities to practice on moving underwater targets. Meanwhile, in the Gulf of Finland, a Soviet submarine crew is working desperately. Their boat has hit German anti-submarine mines. The explosions have not been powerful enough to sink the submersible, but they have caused considerable damage. The boat is totally exposed. Palosua's bomber reaches the area. Machine gunner Kalli Ahvensalmi soon spots a submarine. It makes an emergency dive. Making 2 runs, Palosua drops the depth charges. Did Palosua manage to sink the sub? And what boat was it? Red Navy Archives, St. Petersburg. Despite his young age, Mihhail Ivanov has years of detailed research behind him. The Russian World War II wrecks and their stories are his passion. He has discovered numerous ships and submarines.
I think the fascination about submarine warfare comes about classic story about David and Goliath, when smaller one can beat the stronger and bigger one, not with brutal force, but with smarts. Lost submarines are hard to find because of the nature of submarine warfare. They're trying to stay hidden and silent all the time. So when they got lost, in most of the case, we don't have exact data how it happened. So a lot of events which happened are still mysteries after even 70 years.
After the war, Palosua thought he had attacked and sunk SCH-302. Mihhail has a theory that this is not the case. He suspects that the boat was SCH-311, Kumža, one of the most successful Soviet submarines during the Winter War. It was awarded the Order of the Red Banner, the highest recognition available for a military unit at the time.
Now most of archives are open. More information is available, and historical research can be done precisely using data from all available sources. To go out to the Baltics, Soviet submarines had to go through 4 stages to cross the Gulf of Finland. First stage was to dive below the Seeigel German minefield. Second phase was west from the Seeigel in the area for where Soviet subs recharge batteries. Third stage is to dive below Nashorn German minefield. And fourth stage is to charge batteries west from the Nashorn, and after that there's Baltics and open sea and operational areas. After the literature, you have to go to archives and collect the detailed information about precise questions you need to answer before you can actually start looking for submarine at sea. I got a lot of archive data from Russian and German archives, from Russian historian Miroslav Morozov. And actually finding of this submarine is as much of his achievement than mine.
Kумža's mission was to break through the submarine defences of the Gulf of Finland. Its area of operation was along the coast of Sweden, between the islands of Gotland and Åland.
Kумža leaves from Lavansaari Island on the 11th of October.
One day later, it surfaces close to Tiiskari as it needs to charge batteries. Finnish motor patrol boats spot the submarine. Quick battle ensues. Finns think they have been victorious, but Mihhail thinks the Finnish battle reports are exaggerated. In his opinion, Kумža has escaped, only to meet with Palosua a day later. This is as far as the archives can take Mihhail. The final answer lies at the bottom of the Baltic Sea. The Great Patriotic War and the human losses are still an emotional subject to many Russians. The heroes of the war were respected and remembered in many ways. Mikhail visits Sestrovets Orthodox Church. It is a place where lost submarine crews are honored.
This historical monument have 115 nameplates of all lost Russian submarines of its over 100-year history. First Russian submarine was actually test dived in this lake near to this church. When in 2001, after the Kursk disaster, need for a memorial occurred, this was a natural place to build one for relatives and close ones of lost submariners to honor their memories. The relatives were always looking and asking for destiny of the lost submariners. For example, grandson of the commander of one of the submarines which was found in Finnish waters, contacting me and asking more about destiny of the last trip of the submarine. Inside the church building there is great information boards consisting all lost submarines and crew lists. Main priest of the church is former submarine officer. Priests have very good relations with Russian Navy, and they were very interested in getting the new information how the submarines were lost.
On the 5th of May 2012, an honorary ceremony was held above submarine P1 Pravda's grave, over 70 years after the unlucky submarine was sunk by mines. The Finnish-Russian team of divers takes a memorial plate to the wreck resting on the bottom of the Gulf of Finland. The event is authorized by the Kremlin and widely covered by Russian media. The ceremony draws the attention of the Finnish Navy as well. An orange flare signals the crew aboard Sibriakov that the ceremony may begin.
Им война выдавала цену жизни и смерти, назначала в тот миг нестерпимо до боли тишина.
On the 9th of September 1941, Commander Ivan Loginov receives a secret order. It is the first battle mission for his boat. Unlike the usual submarine missions, there are no torpedoes aboard Pravda. Instead, its tubes are loaded with 154 crates of canned meat, artillery shells, and medical supplies for the besieged soldiers of Hanko. Pravda reaches Umida minefield. The planned route through the field is too narrow. The unlucky submarine hits a German mine and sinks. 54 Soviet sailors lose their lives in the disaster. In spring 2012, Mikhail has all the required wreck spotting information, as accurately as it can be constructed by the battle reports and other available sources. Mikhail's goal is to find out whether the coordinates from the Russian archives and his reasoning are correct, and of course, if the boat really is Kumža, as he believes. The team prepares for several hours of diving in murky waters. The temperature on the bottom is 4 degrees Celsius. Quite soon after the boat reaches the spot, a familiar peak shape is spotted on the sonar. this could very well be the lost submarine. The ship is almost right on the expected spot. The reconnaissance team gets ready to find out what lies on the bottom.
When I first saw trout, it was a great feeling because up to the last moment you can't be sure that it's really a submarine, because I dived a lot of rocks which looked exactly as submarines on a sonar screen. And a few minutes later, when I discovered the distinctive shape of the bow and the name of the boat, I knew that this is Щ-311, Kumža. The next big question was how it sank. First we saw is damage area on top of light hull of the submarine. 1 or 2 German anti-submarine mines exploded there, forcing crew to blow ballast tanks and surface the boat, even if it was during the daytime, in the middle of German minefield. We also find out that the torpedo tubes opened after the explosion by power of shock wave.
Michail has identified the boat, but the story is not yet complete. If Palusua's depth charge sank the boat, the evidence should be clearly visible. As Michail continues towards the tower, the last part of the mystery starts to unfold.
Superstructure of the tower is ripped off by the nets, but there's a few very interesting details visible. For example, broken glass of telegraphs, about 1 inch thick, so it must be done by some explosion. And the main hatch just torn open by some big explosion, about 10 centimeters. In a lot of sources, they claim that the boat that Palusua sunk was 302, and the 311 was actually sunk by Finnish patrol boats off Tiiskeri. But as we find out, this is not the case.
Michail's theory is proven to be right. The relatives of the submarine crew can be informed about the destiny of their loved ones.
We can basically reconstruct the last moments of the submarines, basing on its position on the bottom and position of hydroplanes. The hydroplanes are in horizontal position, both the forward and rear ones, and both are laying almost perfectly horizontal on the bottom, not sunk in the mud, meaning that up to the last seconds crew was trying to stabilize submarine and save it.
There is one more grim detail waiting for Michail. It testifies that the struggle for life wasn't over when Kumža hit the bottom.
Actually, it's emergency hatch, which is partly open. That means that after the commanding compartment was flooded from the ripping off main hatch, there was submariners were still alive in a stern section, and they tried to escape. Finnish Air Force claims about a dozen of victories against Soviet submarines, but now when archive data is available from both sides, we actually checked every claim made by Finnish pilots, and this actually is the only submarine sunk by Finnish Air Force. Now the story of Kumža is revealed, but there's more mysteries to solve. Actually, after the 5 minutes of decompression, I was already thinking of new projects. For example, over 20 Soviet submarines are still missing in Baltic Sea.